Greetings from the NorthCap University and welcome to the NorthCap Masterclass, a series of talks wherein you get to listen to eminent thinkers, scholars, and leaders sharing their perspectives on what's going on in the world and what it means for you as future professionals. Over the past 25 years, the NorthCap University has been a preferred destination for talented students and faculty. Our graduates are well accepted all over the world in leading companies and at higher education campuses abroad for a singular reason. We in NorthCap are firmly invested into the future. A glance at our website for specializations that we offer in engineering, management, and law will powerfully illustrate this. From cybersecurity to artificial intelligence to digital marketing to business analytics to latest trends in law, we cover it all. This is also the intent behind our recent collaboration with Arizona State University, the first of its kind in India in coverage, depth, and breadth, all designed to bring the latest education to the students. And to talk about it, let me welcome our guest, Dr. Rick Shangraw, President of Cintana Education. Rick brings with him a rich experience in the field of education. He has had a thriving career scaling organizations and improving the quality of organizational outcomes. He spent over 15 years as senior executive at Arizona State University, the most innovative university in the country, as per the US News and World Reports. Previously, under his leadership as Senior Vice President for Research and Innovation at ASU, nearly 5,000 distinct research papers were awarded over $1.2 billion in funding. Dr. Shangraw holds a master's degree and a doctorate in public administration from the Maxwell School at Syracuse University. Today, Rick will talk to you about the ASU NCU Advantage. At the end, we will have a brief question and answer session. Welcome to this session, Rick, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Milan. It's obviously quite an honor to be here with you today and to talk about Arizona State University and to talk about this fantastic partnership that ASU has with NorthCap University. What I'd like to do is give you an overview of Arizona State University. And then, as you said, we'll go to a set of questions and answers where we can get a little bit deeper on some topics that I know are important to NorthCap University and to its students. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, Milan, and talk about ASU and give you some sense of what's going on with Arizona State University. So just give me a second here and I'll go ahead and share my screen. So Arizona State University is established in 1885, which seems like a long time ago, but in fact, it only became a university in the late 1950s. So it's a very young university in terms of the United States. It has a very important mission, and that mission is to work as a public university and to be measured by not whom it excludes, but whom it includes, and then how it succeeds in advancing research and discovery of public value, not just simply for science sake or basic science sake, but of public value. And then also assuming the fundamental responsibility of the economic, social, cultural, and overall health of the communities that it serves. This mission statement is something that's embedded within Arizona State University, and it's also very different than many other universities in the States. The university is led by President Michael Crow. President Crow has been a good friend of mine for almost 40 years, and we worked together on many different projects over the years. I joined him in 2005 at Arizona State University to help him build this fantastic university at ASU, and President Crow is certainly recognized as one of the leaders, not only nationally, but globally in higher education. And I think one of the important principles that President Crow brings to Arizona State University is the fact that its leaders, and I was part of that team for 15 years, are first and foremost designers. That is, trying to find solutions to problems facing the university, to improving student outcomes, to think about solutions first, and then second, to be administrators of putting those solutions into action. So the mentality, the culture at Arizona State University is very much focused on how the university can solve problems and how it can be solution oriented. And this is what brings much of the innovation to Arizona State University. There are also some design aspirations at ASU. The focus of President Crow's tenure as president, and he's been at Arizona State University for almost 20 years now, is to do things that, again, are different than what you see in many US universities: to value entrepreneurship, to conduct use-inspired research, to be socially embedded in communities, to obviously engage globally, part of the reason why we're having this conversation with NorthCap. And there's some other design aspirations here on the slide, but these design aspirations shape how the university is driven and how it has grown over the last 20 years under President Crow's leadership. The university is large, 128,000 students, almost 5,000 faculty members, over 500,000 now active living alumni, and very diverse set of degree programs spanning every major discipline. The only thing that ASU doesn't have is a medical school, and there's some good reasons for that. But what that allows ASU to do is be partners with other medical schools in the area, and there's some deep partnership, which I'll talk about in a second. The colleges and schools are as I said, span health, sustainability, the arts and design, engineering, education, law, arts and sciences, global management through the Thunderbird School, more traditional liberal arts curriculum, a business school, a journalism school, and a school focused on public service and community solutions. Of those 128,000 students at ASU, almost 54,000, that actually it's a little bit larger number, almost 60,000 of those students are studying online, and they're getting their degree programs online. And so there's a very strong mix of both on-campus students and online students. As Millen mentioned, ASU has been ranked for now 6 years as the most innovative university in the United States, ahead of MIT, ahead of Stanford. And while that may seem surprising to some, I think what it reflects is the fact that President Crow has built in this culture of innovation at ASU is deeply embedded. And related to that is also a focus on research at Arizona State University, and a focus on impact in terms of how the students' outcomes are measured, and how the university's outcomes are measured more generally in terms of research and contributions to society. Obviously, as a public university, there's an access mission here. That is not so obvious for some of the other public universities in the United States. That access mission is to first to welcome in students from many different cultures, disciplines, globally, many different backgrounds. And so Arizona State University is not trying to stay at a size or decrease its size to increase its rankings. It's actually growing substantially and has grown almost 100% since President Crow has taken over as president of the university. And there's a very large and diverse international student population. And this is part of the what I believe to be the success of Arizona State University, is to have a very diverse student base, not only nationally, but also internationally. One of the metrics, I think, Millen, that you and I will talk about is how you measure outcomes for students. And one of the most important outcomes that I believe for students is to make sure they stay in the university. Because the last thing you want to do is have a student come to a university and then decide to drop out or to do something else and never get a college education. And so you can see by this chart that there's been very much of a focus on retaining students from their freshman year, their first year at the university to their second year. And you can see that over time, this has grown substantially, which has been a focus of the university. Related to that is to make sure that the students complete their degree. Certainly, this has been an important objective for Arizona State University to increase its graduation rates. Again, as a public university, there's a tendency for students who attend to be working, sometimes full-time. They can't spend and dedicate their life to the university, so they take a longer period of time to graduate. But as you can see, again, over time, there's been a tremendous focus on increasing this most important outcome, which is to make sure students graduate. And Millen, as we get into discussions a little bit later, we can talk about other outcomes, including employment, including contributions back to society for our graduates, and some other metrics that we measure in terms of student outcomes. Research has been a very important focus for Arizona State University. I was very fortunate to oversee research and innovation for the university for a number of years. And during the period, again, over the last 15 years, research has increased substantially, funded research. In the States, we're very fortunate to have a very active National Science Foundation and a very active National Institutes of Health. And as you may know, one of my very close friends, Dr. Setharaman Panchanathan, who was at Arizona State University, who took over from me in the research office after I moved on to some other positions, is now head of the National Science Foundation. And that just gives you some sense of how the US looks at ASU and to how they look at taking one of the ASU leaders and bringing him to the national level to lead the National Science Foundation. Research, as I said, has grown tremendously. And in fact, Arizona State University is one of the fastest growing research enterprises in the United States. And related to that is recognition for patents, which is taking the discoveries of our faculty members and converting them into patentable and licensable technologies that can be used in commercial organizations around the globe. And also being recognized as having a very important transdisciplinary focus, which is to make sure that we're not only looking at our one discipline, but our researchers are working across disciplines to develop the research and their inventions and their innovations. And that transdisciplinary nature of research at ASU, I think, has really helped to allow ASU to expand its contributions in the areas of research. Part of that success is built upon the fact that Arizona State University has built a number of very important partnerships with companies, and these are very deep partnerships. The partnership with Starbucks Coffee, for example, helps those employees of Starbucks to complete a degree, undergraduate degree, and that's been a very successful program. In addition to the fact that Starbucks now has an innovation center that they've located at Arizona State University to think about the new technologies that Starbucks will deploy. As I mentioned before, ASU does not have a medical school, but has a very deep partnership with the Mayo Clinic, which is a globally recognized provider of health solutions and medicine. And we partner with them not only in Phoenix, but with their operations in Minnesota and also in Florida. We have also partnerships with Amazon and Uber and Adidas. And then we also have global partnerships. The one on the bottom right with the MasterCard Foundation is really focused on bringing education overseas, particularly in Africa. And that's been a very successful partnership. So I want to talk just briefly Millen, about this partnership between Arizona State University and NorthCap University. And in the middle, you'll see on this slide is a company called Cintana Education. I'm president of Cintana Education. And the philosophy here is relatively simple. Many universities in the US and the UK, around the globe, are interested in working globally. But they often don't have the resources to really deploy successful partnerships around the globe. And so Arizona State University, several years ago, partnered with Cintana Education as a private partner to help Arizona State University expand its global footprint and to develop comprehensive partnerships with universities around the globe. And NorthCap University is a fantastic example of one of those partnerships. And Cintana Education's role is to help facilitate that relationship between Arizona State University and NorthCap University. And you can probably immediately see my role there, since I spent so many years at Arizona State University and I'm now president of Cintana. I can be helpful in making sure that those resources that are part of ASU can be brought to our partner, our alliance partners, and particularly to NorthCap University. The current partnerships that are in place with Arizona State University span the globe. They're in Costa Rica and Ecuador and Mexico, Egypt, Istanbul, Turkey, Kazakhstan, Almaty, Kazakhstan, obviously in India with NorthCap, and in Vietnam. I'm currently in Ukraine, working on a very new university called the American University of Kyiv in the Ukraine, and we'll be launching that university in the next 6 months. What's important about these partners is that NorthCap now has access to these other partners in terms of sharing teaching, co-teaching opportunities, in terms of research opportunities and collaborations. And so this alliance is much more than simply individual dots on a map where Arizona State University has formed a partnership. It's also an opportunity for NorthCap University to interact with this global set of universities. Our objective, you can see that on this slide, is to have 50 to 100 of these partners over the next 5 to 10 years. So our expectation, and it's Arizona State University's expectation, is that this partnership and these set of alliance partners will grow substantially and provide additional resources to partners within that alliance. So how does this deep partnership work with Arizona State University? You know, I think that again, as you look around the globe at other partnerships with universities, between universities, often they're very shallow. And what I mean by shallow is not that they're not important, they're very important partnerships, but often there may be 1 or 2 faculty exchanges. There may be a couple of students that get exchanged. Sometimes there's some collaborative research, although that's very unusual. And so Arizona State University really wanted to change that paradigm, that model for partnering, and to make it much deeper and longer term. So it doesn't come for a year and then go away and you don't see anybody else again. And it's designed to be a very deep and long-term partnership. And this slide here lists some of those benefits of the partnership and some of the objectives of the partnerships. One of the most important things is the access by NorthCap to all the curriculum via what we call a content repository at Arizona State University. As you saw before, there are a large number of programs and courses offered by ASU, so this becomes a tremendous resource to NorthCap. English learning for those alliance partners that need English language training, obviously not the case for NorthCap. The ability for student and faculty mobility to study abroad, transferring to ASU, which provides an opportunity for students to study for, let's say, 2 or 3 years at NorthCap and then spend a year in the States and you get both degrees, a degree from NorthCap and a degree from Arizona State University. And you can see in the slide many other opportunities, including continuing education, co-teaching courses between ASU faculty and NorthCap faculty, working on joint research projects together. And all of these activities here are being moved forward in the partnership between Arizona State University and NorthCap, some quicker than others, but certainly the objective is to have this deep partnership over a very long period of time. And so with that, I will stop there and open it up to questions. And certainly, as I said before, Millen, I couldn't be more honored to be here today to talk about this partnership. I think it's very important for Arizona State University to have this kind of deep partnership in India with your university. And I think there's opportunities for both Arizona State University and NorthCap University to learn from each other, to grow together, to improve student outcomes, to do collaborative research. I think these are all things that will make both universities better universities serving those students. So with that, I will stop my sharing and I will turn it back to you, Millen.
Thank you so much, Rick, for a very comprehensive perspective on Arizona State University and the vision it has in terms of spreading the message of education everywhere. Let me pick up on one of the themes that you talked about, which is student outcomes, and this is of interest to students as well. Out here, students look at education as a bridge to a better life. Okay, and that better life would mean a good profession, a good wage, probably international placements and broader experience, and essentially lift yourself out of your current paradigm into a better paradigm, better wage, better professional standing, etc. So would like to hear from you, how does ASU look at student outcomes, whether they be learning outcomes or post-degree outcomes?
Yeah, I think, Millen, that's a very important question. And I think that's one that many universities spend time on what I consider to be the wrong outcomes. They talk more about the qualifications of the students coming into the university and how great they are versus what happens after they graduate from the university, as you suggest. And Arizona State University has taken a lot of time and effort to measure, first of all, what happens inside the university for those students. As I said, making sure that they have support and coaching so that they can stay in college and they can complete college. And during that journey, while they're at Arizona State University, there's a lot of focus on preparing them for job placement and preparing them for an ability to move into the next stage of their career. But Millen, I also have to say that one of the things I think Arizona State University does very well, and something that there is very hard to measure, but it is the fact that in a college experience, you're not only training for your first job, but you're being trained for your last job, right? And to be trained for your last job, it's more about how you think, how you reason, how you write, how you communicate. And I think those are metrics that are much harder to get your arms around, because obviously you have to track the student over a much longer period of time when they graduate. And in fact, Arizona State University has started to do some tracking, longer term tracking of student success. And that success is measured in ways that may not be typical, but how active are our students once they graduate in the community? Are they making a contribution to a not-for-profit in the community? Are they engaged in the electoral process? Do they participate in organizations that support the community? What is their quality of life? How has that quality of life changed over time, and is it improved over time? And this is done mainly by survey instruments, completed by the graduates, and it's administered by a third-party survey company. And there are a lot of insights there that I think that are interesting, which is graduating from a university gives you those skills for that first job and your ability to earn a good living and be able to support a family. But it also gives you these other skills about being a more active member and participant in society. So I think there's that ability to think more broadly about the contributions that a college education provides to students. I think there's also an opportunity to think about how you then also not only provide that education for the years that they're at college, but how do you have lifelong learning? And that's been another big important focus for Arizona State University, which is to figure out ways to provide certificates and upskilling of workers, because as you know, the world is changing very rapidly. And the skills you have today may not be relevant 5 years from now. And so being able to provide back to our alumni base at Arizona State University, that ability to come back and upskill and reskill is also a very important component of what Arizona State University is doing. And in fact, has created a whole separate now division around what they call the learning enterprise, lifelong learning enterprise, to begin building and launching these programs.
It's probably obvious to say that the faculty is the medium through which all learning can happen, all fundamental change in human beings can happen, or students can happen. So as Arizona State University embarked upon this transition or transformation, what are the learnings that you have for faculty? How did the faculty have to change so that they are able to impart the necessary knowledge and skills to the students?
Yeah, the faculty are, as you said, are very important. They transfer knowledge to the students, and so you have to have fantastic faculty members. And I think Arizona State University has done a number of things in that area. I think first, as you saw in the presentation I made, there's this real focus on this mission for Arizona State to be accessible, to do research that's of public value, to serve the community. And that charter statement is something that has been an important part of communicating to existing faculty, but also as important, new faculty that are hired, to make sure that they know they're coming into an environment where it's very important to value access to education, to focus on student outcomes, to do research that is of public value, and to be active in the community. Over the last 20 years that President Crow has led Arizona State University, there's been an opportunity for many faculty to join ASU, and they come in with this mission in mind as they join the university, which is very important. I think the second thing is to make sure we support our faculty so that they can be effective in the way that they deliver knowledge to students, providing them support in digital technologies so that they can provide hybrid learning opportunities for the students, provide them with instructional designers to help with that transition from traditional classroom teaching to more digital training, provide them with other resources that allow them to be much more effective as we move into this more digital stage of learning that's really affecting all universities around the globe. And then finally, I think the other thing that I see with the faculty, and I'm still on the faculty at ASU, so I'm very close to a number of faculty members, and I think what's important is to make sure the faculty understand where the university is going, what's important to the university, so that they know how to contribute and to add value to the university. And I think that ASU does a very good job, and President Crow does a good job of laying out the future for the university so that faculty members know how they can fit into that, what skills they need to work on, and also to be a part of those discussions about how the university is going to be moving forward in the future. So to your question, I think the faculty are very important. Yeah, as you saw, there are almost 5,000 faculty members at Arizona State University, so it's a very large faculty. And it is a key component of successful outcomes for students.
Now, you spoke about digital education. there is no doubt that the medium of digital education exposes to you a whole array of content, okay, which is otherwise difficult to transport. However, a common sentiment I hear from the teachers and also from students is the loss of connect, a physical connect or a contact. And uh, you know, some of the students feel not very motivated to look at a two-dimensional image and listening to a computer audio. So, any learning lessons from there from as ASU transform itself from physical education to digital education?
Yeah, Milton, that's a great question. And we certainly heard that a lot at ASU in the early years of that transition. This transition to digital for ASU started, 10, almost 15 years ago. And I think that first foray, that first set of engagement in digital was very simple, right? It was videotaping the faculty member and then making that videotape available to students so that they can watch the lecture online versus having to come to the classroom. And that was sort of the first stage of what I would call digital transformation. We quickly learned, as you said, that students found that convenient, but didn't necessarily improve their learning outcomes. And so ASU has taken many steps and works now with almost 140 companies that are in the digital learning space to bring in new technology solutions that are much more engaging, to bring in simulation, to bring in augmented reality. ASU is working right now with a group out of Hollywood, California, to bring in virtual reality, and has converted almost 6 biology courses into a virtual reality set of programs that are very engaging for students. And students seem not only to enjoy learning that way, but also the outcomes are spectacular. Students that were having problems with biology are now graduating at much higher rates with much better learning outcomes. And I think to your point about faculty and students feeling a loss of connection, I think, as you know, the technology over the years has changed dramatically. And this ability for me to be sitting in Kyiv, Ukraine, and you to be sitting in India and having this conversation really demonstrates the fact that there are much more advanced technology solutions that allow faculty members to find more connectivity with their students. And as you know, one of the really exciting initiatives that ASU and Cintana are working on with NorthCap is to create this next generation learning platform that's sort of, I call it Zoom Plus or Zoom on steroids, to find ways to have faculty members be much more effective in the classroom and to use new technologies and new platforms to do that. And NorthCap is taking the lead on that technology implementation for all the Cintana and ASU Alliance partners, which is really very exciting.
So taking a thread from there, we often talk about the gamification, AR, VR, and simulation as technologies to bring the classroom alive, even though you've not be physically together. Some of these best practices, lessons, tools, etc., are available to NorthCap under this partnership that we have with ASU. Would we see our courses changing dramatically?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that these programs, as you know, are under development. And I think sharing best practices and sharing the learnings are certainly going to be part of what Arizona State University would like to work with NorthCap on. Some of, and you know this better than anybody, some of these technology solutions are very expensive. And so part of it is trying to find the resources to convert 5 biology courses into a virtual reality simulation. I mean, that was expensive. So the issue is how does ASU work to not only change the pedagogy and to find more exciting ways for students to learn, but also to be able to distribute that and share that with other universities. That's a work in progress, I have to tell you. And I think
Well,
particularly on these.
in a
Yeah,
lighter vein, I might say that you could outsource this to India if it's expensive.
yeah,
We can
yeah.
do high tech work with not at comparable costs of what you can do in Hollywood.
And that's true. And so I think one of the things that I'm certain that ASU would like to explore with NorthCap is finding ways to access your technology solutions, your students in particular, and your faculty to advance some of these new technology solutions. Because you're exactly right, it can be done for at a rate that's much less expensive than what it could be in Hollywood. And so I think that's something that you and I can have a conversation offline about and see if there's ways we can do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Switching the topic a little bit, you spoke about the research as the primary uh, dimension of growth at ASU, or a strong focus, etc. Uh, when we think of research in India from a student perspective, it is very textbookish. It is not something that affects my life. It's something that only the PhDs do, or the faculty people do. How does good research translate to uh, to a life of a student, so that we can see how that can get better?
Yeah, and Mel, that's something that I was very much focused on when I was overseeing research at ASU, because what I found and this is almost 10 years ago, what I found was that the research experience was exclusively designed for PhD students and for graduate students. And what I decided to do was to launch a set of programs in collaboration with the various schools that would allow undergraduate students to have an opportunity to work in laboratories alongside of researchers at ASU. And what I found was the researchers, to my surprise, actually were very receptive to having undergraduate students in the labs with them. Now, as you know, it's hard to scale that, right? Because researchers don't want 25 undergraduate students in their labs. But at least to start by having an opportunity for 2 or 3 undergraduate students to be working with a faculty member in the lab. And even if that experience is only 4 or 5 hours a week over the course of the semester, to your point, it changes a student. It changes the perspective of a student. It changes how they think about research. And it greatly enhances their education. In fact, I did some research on student outcomes. And I found that undergraduate students that had an experience in a research laboratory were much more likely to graduate quicker, to have much better grades, much better GPAs, and to have in a survey format to say that their experience was enhanced at the university by having that research experience. And so we started very small, Mill, and we didn't start very large, but we started small and made a very small amount of money. It didn't take very much money at all to provide some stipends to those students as they participated in the research laboratories, and which offset some of the costs by the faculty members to have them involved. And they knew that there was this commitment on the part of the university to pay these students a very small amount of money, but nonetheless a little bit of resources. And that program now has grown substantially. And one of the things I'd love to share with you is the information on the research program that the Fulton School of Engineering has put in place. It's called Fury, and it now has grown very successfully. And it's for undergraduates. And I think it could be a model that you could look at NorthCap, and we can have a longer discussion about how that could be implemented at NorthCap.
We would be very interested. So are we talking about crafting research projects for undergraduate students, or just having them around as observers in the labs?
A little bit of both. I think the research projects themselves are certainly that the undergraduates could do on their own, certainly comes out of their classroom experiences. I think it's very hard to oversee that as an additional requirement of being in a laboratory. What we found was it and what we got the best outcomes was for an undergraduate student to work alongside of a researcher and to just be part of that research process, whether it's designing a set of experiments or managing the laboratory or even doing the things that happen in a lab, which is, it's a lot of hard work sometimes, either observing or monitoring machines or downloading data. And these are all things that an undergraduate could be very much involved in. And what we found was that the undergraduate students said, look, I'm now working in a laboratory, an engineering laboratory that's looking at new ways to manufacture concrete. And while they're not actually manufacturing the concrete, they're there measuring the outcomes of the concrete. It's how solid it is, what its composition looks like, and those are things that stay with an undergraduate for a long time, to be part of those processes, even though that's not their own research project. They're participating with a faculty member or graduate student on their research projects. I think you can do a combination of that and also encourage within the classroom as part of their classroom learning, to have assignments of research-oriented projects. But I think that requires much more oversight by a faculty member, at least my experience has been, in terms of making sure that the student has good outcomes from those kind of projects.
Now, Rick, you talked about the powered by partnership with Arizona State University as being a different class of partnership. There's been a lot of confusion out here in India because every university announces a collaboration with a host of brand names. These are like labels that university likes to carry around. And so as a student, I'm confused. Everybody is claiming something or the other with some brand name university outside. How is this? I think it will be useful for you to go a little deeper into how this partnership is substantively, qualitatively, as well as quantitatively different from many others that I see around, on one hand. And part two is, what does the student get out of it? As if I'm a student, why shouldn't I go to some other university who's also claiming similar collaborations?
Yeah, Milan, I think there is a lot of confusion in the marketplace because many universities want to have partnerships around the globe and are very, in many respects, very quick to build those partnerships and publicize those partnerships. But as you said, what are the outcomes from those partnerships? What does the student get out of it? What does the faculty get out of it? What does the university get out of it?
Right.
And my history at Arizona State University was I was part of the team that, in fact, did go around the globe trying to develop partnerships for ASU before Cintana and this partnership was launched. And what I found, Milan, was it was very easy to visit another university, very easy to meet with a senior leadership team, very easy to go out to dinner and have a very nice dinner and talk about great things that is going to happen together. It was very easy to sign a MOU, a memorandum of understanding about how ASU would work with another university. And then everybody would go home and nothing would happen. I mean, it was literally nothing would happen. And unfortunately, I signed many of these MOUs for ASU when I was with the university. And I became very, very disappointed and very concerned about how you could change the way that those partnerships were developed and launched. So the first thing that, and you know this also, the first thing is that ASU and Cintana took almost a year longer. I mean, COVID slowed it down, to have conversations with you and your team at NorthCap to make sure that it was a good partnership. It didn't happen over one dinner. It happened over almost a course of a year before the partnership was signed. And it was really focused on trying to make sure that there was an alignment between what ASU was trying to accomplish and what NorthCap was trying to accomplish. And as you know, many of these partnerships are signed over dinner. They're not signed over the course of a year. And so that was the first thing. It was very important to find that alignment. The second thing then was to focus on what those outcomes would be. the ability to bring the curriculum is, I think, very important. There are very few universities that have these partnerships that are opening up their curriculum in total to the partnering university. And so the students now get to benefit by having access to a world-class curriculum that's been developed in a digital format, so it's easy to transfer. And to be able to have faculty at NorthCap gain access to that. I've always said that a good faculty member is a curator of knowledge, right? They can pick and choose different knowledge that they then bring into the classroom to share with their students. And this provides now another set of courses, curriculum that can be curated into a course and a program that's offered at NorthCap. I think the second thing is to begin working on research collaborations. This is very hard. I know how hard it is because you have to find the right alignment between the topic, the research topic, the faculty members, their interest in working together, sometimes constrained by resources themselves, sufficient resources to execute that research. But I think the mentality at Arizona State University, which I know, is to continue to find ways to work with faculty and students at NorthCap to find some collective research projects that can be worked on. This is not going to happen overnight, Millen, and you know that, but it is certainly a focus. I think the third area is this ability to have co-teaching opportunities where not only could you have a faculty member at NorthCap co-teach a course with a faculty member at Arizona State University, but also to co-teach with any of the Alliance universities around the globe. And right now we have a number of courses that are being co-taught. And that really brings to the classroom a different experience when you have a faculty member from one university coordinating with a faculty member from another university and thinking about how to improve the course and the outcomes and the way it's delivered to students. And it brings certainly an international dimension to those courses. I think the fourth way is that students will have an opportunity to think about being able to get what we call a dual degree, and that is a degree from both NorthCap and Arizona State University, but to do it in a way that I think is much more cost effective, which is to be able to spend most of their time at NorthCap and a relatively small amount of time at Arizona State University, either online or in person in campus, and be able to get 2 degrees. And I think that's a new, it's a paradigm that's been around for a while, as you know, but very few universities implement it very well because of their inability to articulate back and forth the courses and the content of the courses between the universities. And that's been a real focus of ours. Again, not something that's easy to do, but the provost at Arizona State University is very much focused on trying to find ways to make sure that those courses can be articulated and that there are opportunities for students to have to get a dual degree from each one of the universities. I think I could go on, but I think you get the sense that this is not a typical partnership. And the fact that we have put that partnership in place and for many years to come. This is not something that, again, is just a one-year partnership. This is a partnership that's going to last over 15 or 20 years for sure, and hopefully much longer. And ASU has signed up for that duration of that time period also. So it's a commitment by both Arizona State University, by Cintana, and I know because I've worked with you, it's a huge commitment from NorthCap also. So I think this is very different from what you see in other partnerships.
So if I'm a student, I would be able to pursue my master's at Arizona easier, quicker, because in India, most students don't stop at the first degree, unlike America, where not so many people go into masters, but in India, it's a norm for students to finish their undergrad and then go for their masters.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're working on with some of the other Alliance universities, and I'm certain if we haven't started working with you, we'll do it with you, is to find ways that students can take some set of courses locally at NorthCap and then have them transfer in so that they can complete a program in, let's say, a year as opposed to 2 years. And that would be a combination of taking some of their undergraduate courses that have to be taught at a higher graduate level, finding some other courses that, again, could be articulated in, and then provide an opportunity where there can be some of that training either done online or with NorthCap to decrease the amount of time it's required for the master's degree, which of course then saves a lot of resources on the part of the student. It makes it more accessible to the student. But also, as you know, many students want to come to the United States because they want to get their practical training opportunities, or OPT opportunity, and that requires at least studying in the States for anywhere from about 6 months to a year. And so I think there's an opportunity to have a combination of both courses taught at NorthCap, some online learning to decrease the cost of the graduate degree, but then that opportunity to come to the States to ASU to finish off the graduate degree, and then have this OPT opportunity to have practical training for up to 3 years to stay in the States working in a company based upon whatever that graduate degree is. And so I think trying to find ways to optimize that, as you suggest, find ways to make it easier for students to do that, find ways to make it more cost effective for students to do that, and find ways to really demonstrate the partnership are really important. Again, it's going to take some time to work out the details of that, but it's something that we're working out across all the other universities in the Alliance. And it's certainly something we're very hopeful we can work out with NorthCap.
All right, my last question before I invite you for your closing thoughts. Arizona State University has had long time developing itself into where it is today. We are probably at a reasonably at a starting point. Okay, any lessons for us, do's and don'ts? You tried something that didn't work, you tried something else that worked. Any quick advice for us?
Well, Millen, I think you're seeing the most important feature of what I think made ASU successful, and that is great leadership. And you are providing great leadership at NorthCap. And I think leadership is very, very important. As you know, in the States, university presidents, on average, only are at the university for 4 or 5 years now in the States. And to have a president like President Crow, who's very dynamic and much like you, and very much focused on student outcomes and success, and to have that person stay for 20 years makes a huge difference, as you know, because otherwise, as you change leadership, you change course and direction, and often the new leader comes in and wants to do something different than the last leader did so they can have their impact. And so I think leadership is the number one lesson I've learned. And then surrounding yourself with other great leaders and letting them do a good job, fantastic job leading the institution. So leadership to me is very important. I think the second thing, we've had this conversation earlier, and that is to just have great faculty. Because at the end of the day, it's the faculty that are driving the long-term success of the institution. And I think a real focus on how you think about hiring faculty, how you support faculty, is something that's very important, and something that I think led to ASU success. And most of that was not in technical skills. It was in culture. It was in the way that the faculty members thought about the university, and how they thought about the students, and how they thought about where the university was heading. So changing that culture of the faculty members is important. And you know, the faculty member that's been on the faculty for 20 or 30 years, it's sometimes hard to change that culture, as you know. But that's where the leadership comes in. So I think that's important. And then finally, something that ASU has done that I think also changed its outlook and its success dramatically was to be more student-centric as to be exclusively faculty-centric. As you know, many universities are very faculty-centric. They focus on what the faculty need, not necessarily what the students need, right? And to change that dynamic to be more student-centric, more student-focused, and have the faculty understand that they're very important, but at the end of the day, what a university produces is students. and to have more of that student-centered approach, I think is also another shift in the way that you think about the university. Again, very hard. It takes some time. But I think ASU has now moved to the fact that it's much more student-centered, student-focused, as opposed to being exclusively faculty focused.
Thank you very much. Any closing thoughts?
No, I first of all enjoyed our conversation greatly, and as soon as COVID allows me, I'll be over to visit you in person, which I look forward to.
Looking forward.
And my I can't tell you how proud I am of the partnership. It did take us some time to work through the details of the partnership and how it would be put into place. But now it's been in place, and with the team that's over there, that's with Cintana and the connections back to Arizona State University, I think you're making great progress. And I thank you for your support and your leadership in that. And I look forward to many great things to come in the future.
And thank you from our side for a fantastic session.
Great. Thanks, Milan.